That felt kind of good to just get everything off my chest a bit. That kind of helped a little bit, but there's still so much confusion going on. I don't know what to think. I don't know who to trust. I don't know what to believe. You know what I'm saying? We really do need to uncover exactly how, why, when, and where this went down. We got to get to the bottom of this. There's only one Jim I trust to figure out what is the whole deal with this XFL USFL merger. What is the matter with you? Sorry, that's just kind of how I enter every room. Anyway, let's break this baby down. Oh, folks, this is a big one. It's so big that I brought the big mic out just so that you could really fucking hear me. Okay, I made it real obvious for everybody out there. The XFL and USFL are merging. And there's a couple questions that I needed to get into. There's a couple things I needed to find answers for. So what did I do? I started digging. I checked out what was going on. I looked through the history books, through the archives. Just nobody knew anything. And then all of a sudden it hit me. The most obvious question that needed the answer. How long has the merger been under the works? Most people will tell you, from rumors and hearsay and other facts out there, that the merger has been in talks since July 1st, since after the USFL championship of this year. I believe, and sources have shown me, that this merger has been under the works in sort of like flux for much, much longer than this. So what did I do? I went back to the beginning. The beginning of the merger idea? No. The beginning of 2023? No. The beginning of the USFL in 2022? Also no. The beginning of the XFL in 2020? Also no. The beginning of the XFL in 2001? No. The beginning of the USFL, which was founded in 1982. Coincidentally, the same year that Vince McMahon purchased the WWF. I don't know what more I need to say about that. That's just, do you understand what the word collusion means? Because this is this. Sources have led me to believe that David Dixon, founder of the USFL, and Vince McMahon have been secretly fondling each other, shunting on each other, and kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes to make this thing happen. Everyone knows that Vince McMahon had the idea for the XFL back before he was even born. It was planted in his brain by the great football gods among us to make the XFL. And everyone knows that Dixon had the idea for the USFL from the jump. It's all just coming together at this moment. It really doesn't matter that Daryl Dixon's been dead for 13 years, honestly. If you've seen the Saw movies, you understand that someone's legacy and ideas and their plans go well past the grave, honestly. The real mastermind to me is Vince McMahon. So, in the 2001 version of the XFL, he entertained the idea of expansion. And everyone knows Dixon was always trying to revive the USFL, which failed in the 80s. It just didn't work out. Of course, it would just be a common grouping to put them together. But he wouldn't be happy with anything less than full control. And that's where his untimely death comes into factor. Vince McMahon isn't a player. He's a game master. So when Daryl Dixon stood in the way of the XFL's domination, and Vince would possibly have to share his vision with somebody, old Dixon had to take a fall. It pains me to let this information out. It hurts, and I know I might be in trouble. I might be in danger for sharing this information, but it has to get out there. There are suspicious circumstances for Daryl Dixon's death in 2010. And I believe the chief suspect is Vince McMahon because of the XFL. Because he died 10 years before the XFL's 2020 season was to happen. Boom. So the XFL plays in 2020. Dixon's out of the picture. Vince McMahon has his dream in front of him, and what happens? Bam. Slapped with the plague. All of a sudden, can't do it. Vince has to give the league away. You know that hurts him so damn much. But not only that, he sees the USFL in the future. How much do you think that just irked Vince McMahon to see the USFL just lying in wait, waiting for him to fail? So what did he do? Vince McMahon tactically installed staff members in each of the leagues. So when he sold the XFL off to The Rock and Danny Garcia and Redbird Capital, he installed some little puppets in that league. And when the USFL was coming up in 2021, he installed some of his own little players in that as well. And he sort of installed an Order 66, if you will, that if both leagues are to complete a season in the same year, it kind of collapses and they trigger into a merger of both leagues. There's only 3 outcomes that come from this, folks. It's either a monstrous abomination that hobbles along on its last legs, an implosion, explosion extraordinaire, or spring football survives with the best shot we've had yet. So that's the why. Here's the how. Here's how it's going to work. Obviously, Vince McMahon hopes for it to just get worse and collapse and blah, 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 because he's not in control anymore. But there's people working in the scenes and behind the scenes that are trying to make this happen. They've also left certain clues for how many teams, what the whole situation is going to be. So people have wondered, are we going to have 16 teams because it's 8 and 8? Are we going to have 12, 10, 8? People have waxed poetic about what they want to see for what this new league will look like. So, what do we have before us? We have Moose Johnston, Danny Garcia, and Dwayne Johnson. You combine all that, it's 36 letters. You divide that by 3, the number of people, it's 12. So we have 12 teams right there in front of us. Are we going to have 6 hubs? 12 teams, 6 hubs. The XFL championship was a score of 35-26, totaling 61 points. The USFL championship was 12-28, totaling 40 points. Add that all up together, you have 101. Divide that by 16, 6.3. 6 hubs right there. 12 teams, 6 hubs. Now, where are these teams playing? You'd think they'd put the hubs where it makes the most sense. But honestly, a lot of this deal doesn't make sense, so why should it start now? First off, we take a look at who is on the chopping block between the leagues. We have 8 XFL teams, 8 USFL teams, so obviously safe are the Arlington Renegades and Birmingham Stallions. You can't eliminate the champions. You just can't, flat out. So they are safe. The DC Defenders are safe. The St. Louis Battlehawks are safe, mainly because their fan engagement is so good. You don't want to lose those fan bases. It's just natural. Also, I feel the Canton teams for the USFL are fine because they have the Canton lease still, so Pittsburgh Maulers will be okay. Philadelphia Stars, but the New Jersey Generals, you're good. Also, you want the San Antonio market. You have a lot of Texas teams, but you don't want to give up San Antonio. For Houston, though, we run into a conundrum. We have the Gamblers, and we have the Roughnecks. My solution, and the solution I've heard floated by many in both organizations, is to have them play for it. What do we want as fans? What do the people want as fans? They want exciting football. What is more exciting and high stakes than playing for your spot in the league? Losers get fired, go home, lose your jobs, die. Winners get a shot at glory in whatever this new league is. So I believe we should have the Houston Roughnecks and the Houston Gamblers play for a spot. And I think that's actually what's going to happen. So chopping block. We have whoever loses this game, you're getting rid of the New Orleans Breakers, sadly. Can't put a team in New Orleans. Too watery. Guardians and Vipers. Next up, we take a look at what cities could be hubs. Obviously, we have Birmingham for the USFL. Another obvious one is St. Louis. The fans in those stadiums are great. I think it's going to be fine. And I would also add DC as a hub just because it gives you that nice East Coast balance. You could maybe move New Jersey over there. It gives them a lot of stuff. You don't really need a lot of justification for why these would be good hubs. It just makes sense. So those three are taken care of. Where are the other three coming from is a question that I had for many people, and this is the answers I got. We got Arlington. Arlington was already the hub of the XFL. They have everything in place to already make it work. So why not just make it easy and make Arlington a hub? Obviously, Canton, Ohio's got to be a hub because the USFL will not let it go. They have a stranglehold on Canton, and every answer I've gotten, I've asked people, front, left, right, back, center, down on me, and it's just not going anywhere. Canton is a non-starter. They're going to have Canton. I would also add San Antonio just because it makes the travel easier, and they seem to be wanting to save money. And, they want to harken back to the AAF, but not for the reasons you're expecting. They want to harken back to the AAF to remind the players of what can happen if they don't fucking listen. This is about player control, first and foremost. This is about manipulation. This is about contemplation. This is about extrapolation. But they want to remind the players, hey, you remember the AAF? It could always be worse for you guys. We could just leave you hanging high and dry. So you better get down or you better lay down. Lastly, folks, and this is some of the most perilous information it took for me to get, is what will the name of the league be? You have the XFL. You have the USFL. You get rid of the two common letters. You have the USX. The United States X? Maybe. You have the USX. You have the USXFL. You have the USFXL. You have the SUXFL. You have the XUSFL. You have fluxes. FLUXS, which stands for Football Lovers United Extreme Spring. So from all of the diving I've done, it seems like Fluxes is going to be the new name of the league. Some other just little tidbits that I found through my deep diving. How will the negotiations go down? Which we'll see over the coming weeks. Dwayne and Moose might wrestle to see who has full control over the league. But from what I've heard from Moose's side is that they will actually have a real Moose stand in for The Rock to wrestle. So be on the lookout for that. Whoever controls what remains, Danny Garcia will still remain a figurehead because, she has to have her silly little outfits that are just awesome and I love, but they are silly. Come on. We're serious here. They are silly. Is Vince still the puppet master behind the things? Does he have people still in the league that he's just kind of looking out for? And finally, from what I've heard, if it's an XFL versus USFL championship to end the season, the losing league dies. All the marbles are being laid on the table this season. It's all or nothing. Death and life hang in the balance of this spring football news. I hope everyone understands how much of a serious event this next spring is going to be. It could be deadly. I'm laying it out there. From what I've gathered, it could be extremely dangerous for people. So stay safe out there, okay? Thank you. I want to be perfectly honest with both of you, and this has got me rattled, okay? I have some people looking for me now, and Some of the stuff I uncovered, I couldn't share in this video. But trust me, things are even more dangerous than you ever imagined. Okay. I need a break. Jim, help us all.